Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of SIG Instrumentation. It is Thursday, December 8th, 2022, probably our last recorded meeting in 2022. What do we have on our agenda today, Han?
I don't see an updated agenda doc.
Okay, I see one.
Next agenda. I see it. Never mind.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. So, okay. First, our deep dive video for KubeCon is out. The link is in our agenda doc. We have a couple things on our agenda. The first item, I guess, is for me, maintaining subprojects. So we have a plethora of subprojects, and we have not enough contributors to contribute to them. And the onus is on us, since these are our SIG's subprojects, to either find contributors for them or think about releasing subprojects from the SIG fold, because we can no longer maintain them. And we should only maintain the ones that we actually have the bandwidth to maintain. And I think we've been doing a better job lately. Like, this is a talk that we had at KubeCon and a little bit after KubeCon, before KubeCon. We've been talking about this for a little while. Like, the two primary projects, which are, well, the primary project which is in danger at the moment, it looks like CubeState Metrics is starting to get in better shape. It looks like there's more maintainers now, is Metric Server. I am quite concerned about Metric Server. And in fact, the next agenda item is about the release plan for the Metric Server. But
what's the state of each subproject if you're interested, since I'm involved in most of them. So KubeState Metric is like the most active one out of all of them. We have like 3 active approvers and now 3 active reviewers on top of them. And yeah, a ton of first-time contributors. Like, contributors in KubeState Metrics tend to come at their feature and then like leave. That's how it's happened usually. But like, we have a lot of contribution. As I mentioned, like, we had a little bit of lack of approvers or reviewers, like people actually looking at the PRs and the efforts. On the metric server side, we have 2 active reviewers, of like 1 active reviewer, the other one is me, and then there's Marek, that is approver, and Marek is the only approver at the moment. So kind of in a bad state, because like neither Marek nor myself have really time to invest in metric server. Like, we are making the minimum that needs to be done, but that's about it. And the 2 other one are like custom metrics API server and Prometheus adapter. I am the only approver, and
I think we might want to disband them. We might want to disband them.
No, not custom. We can't disband custom metrics API server. There is no way, because like that's the library that implements the metrics API, and so like, since the metrics API are part of our scope, we cannot disband it. For Prometheus adapter, we might want to archive the project at some point, but like custom metrics API server, we need to work on it.
I was actually talking about Prometheus adapter.
Yeah. And so like, one of the ideas also is to like move the API implementation that is in metric server currently to custom metrics API server, and just rename the project to something more generic. But that's the current state of it. And now there is Olivier that helps me with that, but before there was no one. But we still need like at least 1 more contributor on that side, and I guess at least 1 on metric server side also. And that's the scope I know of. Maybe like Klog.
I'm trying to take notes real quick.
Yeah.
Damien, do you know how many people we have actively working on custom metrics API server?
1. Just Damien.
Okay.
Well, no,
okay.
there is not even me. Like, there is only Olivier at the moment, and I'm the only approver for sure. But I don't have time to do anything on it. Like, I'm barely able to keep up with the PRs that Olivier is sending. But now we are 2, like since last week. Same with Prometheus adapter. Prometheus adapter. Like I'm trying to put it in a good state just before archiving the project. That's my idea. Because like we won't have the bandwidth, and like as I discussed with Han and David at KubeCon, like there is a good replacement for Prometheus adapter today that is part of CNCF, which is SCADA, and it has a like way bigger scope than just what Prometheus adapter is doing. So like in every way, like it seems to be a better replacement for it. So I would rather have the SIG.
Can you
like,
give me a link to that
for what is it? Yeah, I can
for
do
the
that in the
agenda?
chat. And I'd rather like have the
Okay,
SIG
great.
push for the people to use this project rather than Prometheus adapter, because like it's pretty
If
outdated.
there's a CNCF project, I think it'll be fine. I think we would get pushback of
Yep.
archiving it. I mean, it's been a while
Sure.
since we pulled that in, but
I
I
linked in the chat.
thank you.
Oh,
That's
nice.
awesome. We had like some pushback from, I think, Contribex about, we basically like rehomed Prometheus metrics adapter after it had been archived once, and then we brought it back, and they were like, you already archived it. Like, don't. And so if we archive it again, I think that's going to be our last shot. We are not bringing it back into the fold. So,
I mean, yeah, like the problem that I have with Prometheus adapter is that like for 5 years maybe it has only been maintained by Red Hat in general, and like we've done a very bad job at like bringing new people in, and like even like the project needs a whole rewrite. Like it's impossible to onboard new contributors. Like it's super hard to comprehend like the code base. The UX, like even using the project is difficult. Like answering issue is nearly impossible because like debugging it with how complex the config is like super hard and super tedious. So like we are losing a lot of time by actually like keeping it around. So yeah. Like I would have a lot of
yeah, I think
ideas
that's
to
all
them.
reasonable. This is actually really good timing because all of the SIGs need to report in with annual reports. Like basically, you know, I think that process kicks off in January. So having all this information about subproject health is something that we're gonna have to gather anyways. So like knowing this going in, essentially we can just start filling that stuff out and consider like what action do we want to take based on those reports. I think as long as we have like alternatives and like maybe rather than focusing on getting Prometheus metrics adapter into a good state, honestly, it might be like a better plan to focus on like, here's a migration guide to CADA or whatever. And then that way, like we're not wasting our time on like improving a thing we don't want people to use.
Another thing we should do is we should, right now what we're doing is an inventory of the sub-projects. We should have a subsequent meeting in the new year, ask for people to come to our SIG meeting, and then ask for volunteers to become maintainers of sub-projects. We can add them as owners, and they can just like, you know, start owning these sub-projects because that's what we need. And we're not going to be able to survive unless we onboard some people to actually own these sub-projects.
Yeah. Or even like we can, like that goes in line with like mentorship in general that we were trying to put in place. Like being given the responsibility of being a maintainer straight away is like really huge for some people.
I mean,
like
some of these repos are a lot smaller than others. Like,
and some of the maintainers are experienced already. They're like they haven't
oh
seen
yeah,
anything
for sure. But the idea is to bring like new people also.
Yes.
And like I wouldn't want to push the burden of like maintaining a whole project onto someone.
Yeah, I mean, we can see what's appropriate. Like I'm not suggesting they all become approvers immediately or something, but I'm suggesting they get added to owners files and become an owner.
Yeah, definitely we need to rethink or like at least fill the racks that are empty as much as possible, or like at least know what's the minimum that this project should have to be healthy, because I think like most of them need at least 2 approvers, and yeah, 3 reviewers sounds like a bare minimum.
Yeah, I think it's totally fine. I mean, honestly, like reviewer is more of a burden than a privilege, right? Like it doesn't give you any
yeah, for
additional
sure.
privileges over like being an org member because you could already LGTM. It's just basically like getting flagged to do work. So like I have no objections to adding people, like anybody who says they want to be a reviewer to a sub project. That's the only way they're gonna get the training in order to like become an approver. So there shouldn't be much of a bar like in the way of that. If people aren't org
Yeah.
members yet, then we can talk about how we help them become org members. But like I have no concerns about adding people as reviewers like when they ask.
Yeah, and that's what I was discussing like before this meeting with someone from my team internally. Like being given the rights to become a reviewer gives you kind of a sentiment of ownership on the project where you have like things to do and you feel part of the project. Whereas like if you don't have like this role, well, you don't feel part of the project at all. Like you may contribute every now and then, but you won't look at the project really often. Whereas like if you have this role, it now enables you to look
You're
even
technically an
further
owner.
into the project and more.
I mean,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
technically, you're in an owner's file. You're an owner of the project.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. So you feel like the need to actually look at it.
We should bundle in the
Which
next
is great.
point with this one.
The next point is
Oh
about
yeah, I
metric
was just
server,
about to
right?
time check because we've got 12 minutes.
Yeah. We should bundle in
so
the next one with this one. Do you know when we're cutting the next release of metric server, Damien?
I did it
Oh, you
last
did
week,
it.
I think.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is done.
So yeah. So essentially, like I saw with Marek didn't have time, so I got the permission to cut the release.
Nice.
But like going forward, I need to find someone else to do it. Because like last week, I think I was responsible for 2 releases. Oh no, I did 3.
You can put me in the owner's
And I
file.
had
Show me how to do it and I'll do
follow-up
it.
on. Oh, it's super annoying.
Is it
Like
super annoying?
they're like, because like, or at least this time it was annoying. It's like normally it's super easy, but like since it had been like 6 or 8 months between like the 2 last releases, there was so many CVEs, and like you can only upgrade the dependencies like to a maximum. Like you cannot upgrade between minors without while keeping it stable. So it was pretty difficult.
So we need to
And
cut
for
a
the
release
next
more
release-
frequently is what you're saying.
yeah.
At least for like this one was overdue for 4 months because like there was no one to really cut it. Like yes, Marek didn't have time, so there was no one besides him to do it. Essentially, that's the.
I mean, I'm happy. I'm happy.
but
If you show me
normally,
how to
like,
cut a
it
release, I'm
should-
happy to do it.
It shouldn't be that often. Okay. But
Yeah,
there is,
every
a
month or
document.
two
It's super simple.
should be fine.
Maybe Catherine
No, we
volunteers.
don't-
Catherine, do you
we
want to
don't
be
need
an
that
owner for
often.
metric server?
You mean release manager for metric server?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
Okay. Do we have a documentation I can follow? So it's
You can-
easier.
No, Damien.
we have
Damien has
mentorship
volunteered to
available.
show us. Yeah.
There is a doc.
Okay,
there is a
okay.
doc. But
And then
the-
there we
the
go.
problem
Now
is
we
that,
have 2 volunteers. See, it's already working on.
Yeah. Metric server doesn't have a release cadence that frequent. Like we don't have to release it that often. But
No,
like
we should release it every
the
Go
thing is that
version. We should release it every Go version. We should release
There
it
is no
with
need for
every
that.
Go version. That is what we should do. That
I
should
think
be
that's
our
fair.
yeah.
I mean, like we do a release whenever there is a new CVE, because like otherwise, like there is no need to.
Yeah, but Go versions go
Like,
out of
essentially-
support. So we need to
Oh, you mean
release
for that? Yeah.
yeah, we need to release with every new Go version. That's what we need to do. That should be our release philosophy.
Yeah,
New
we
Go
can do that
version,
on a patch
new
release.
release.
That's not fine. Not. Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem in general.
Okay. We got a plan. Anything else on metric server?
No.
I'll try to contribute to metric server in addition to the
Nice.
other 2. Not especially because we're
Great.
migrating the resource metrics from API from metric server to a custom API server.
Excellent.
So I'll try to help.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but there is not much to change in metric server in general. Like the code, like we made a lot of changes a year ago, but now it's pretty
Stable.
up to date with like the latest thing that we can do in the ecosystem, and it's pretty stable. So like there is not much to release. We might have a couple of bug fix that are waiting, but I'm not even sure. So yeah, there is not that much to contribute. It's mostly like tedious work of like updating dependencies, answering like false positive CVEs and stuff like that in general.
Okay.
Seems reasonable.
Okay, we have 8 minutes left. Let's get to Elena's last.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to give a quick update on this because we talked about creating this new sub project in October, and then essentially KubeCon happened. I had submitted this repo request, but nobody from Contributex got back to me. So finally, I like pinged Bob. Bob was like, "Oh, I totally dropped the ball on this. I'm very sorry." It's like, "Don't worry, it's not a big rush." So we have a repo now. I put in a description for the repo. Right now, what I am working on is trying to get approval to contribute the code. So we're getting everything cleaned up internally. It got a little bit pushed on our priority list. So I'm hoping that we can get it out before the end of the year. But if we can't do that, then like early next year for sure, just because we're kind of running out of year before everybody starts disappearing on holiday vacations. So what do we have going on there? So essentially, like, hopefully we will have a bunch of code that we will be pushing out soon. Then I need to help like get Prow set up to do builds and whatnot. So I am volunteering for that. I know that the folks at I think both Shopify and Google, so I'm coordinating some of the folks on the Apple side, are like very interested in seeing this code. I've been contributing to it internally in sort of anticipation for it to go public. So I'm very excited. I think it will bring in a whole new set of like sub-project contributors who hopefully then might be able to also contribute to some of our other sub-projects or code. It's like a very different sort of niche than a lot of our existing projects. So super excited to see that. It's like yet another thing that I think will help support like some of the scraping C advisor doesn't necessarily scale sort of utilization metrics issue that like metric server kind of addresses, but not in this, it's not as high fidelity as these metrics. So hopefully people will be excited once that code gets pushed out. I'm sorry it's not done yet. Things always move more slowly than you want them to, but I promised people at Shopify and that we had at least one person interested from Google who's not normally a regular contributor to the SIG asking what's going on with this. So that's what's going on with it. So that's my update. I should write a note in the agenda saying waiting for approval to push code externally, hopefully by end of year at layest January.
It's kind of funny because like I started working again on like optimizing the metrics or like the cons metrics on which we had an issue because like there is yet another project that has issue with that.
Yeah.
Optimize cons metrics and like they are starting to pile up. There is like one every year or so now. So I started again to look into optimizing the client, but that's such a lot of work.
Yeah, well, I can say that like certainly the folks from my team are interested in maintaining this long term, like given that we are running it.
I don't see advisor implementation being changed at least.
Yeah.
Even if I create the library that optimizes the metrics, like no one will have the confidence to like merge the change in advisor. So maybe at some point when we switch to CRI stats, maybe that's when we will be able to use directly the metrics from Kubelet, but I don't know.
Yeah. So one thing that I added here, I said like maybe once this is public, we can do a sort of like walk the code update or demo. So like to give folks an idea of sort of what's going on, what are the various components, that kind of thing. So yeah, sorry we don't have it yet, but soon. And I think that's my update. We got 4 minutes. What else would we like to cover?
Is there a plan to present it at the next KubeCon maybe? Or it won't be ready by then?
Oh,
well, Elena's not going to be there.
Well, so I don't know. I won't be there.
I mean,
because it's
more
going to be in Europe, right?
Standalone presenter. Okay.
I don't think that anybody has. I mean, the thing is, you can't submit a KubeCon proposal for something that is not yet public. So I think the code will be public before the end of the CFP. I don't know if we have any plans to do that, but I can ask my team, because certainly it would be great to pull in, like, I know Katrina from Shopify is interested in this code, was previously at Apple, had previously worked on it. So yeah, like there's some exciting stuff there. KubeCon has just gotten so like selective in terms of proposals, and like it can be like kind of inaccessible to folks. So like I want to just ensure that like if we can't, you know, get the visibility of KubeCon, that we're at least doing something within the SIG. And we can totally like, you know, consider that. Like certainly it's going to go into our updates from the SIG. Yeah, certainly it should go into our SIG updates, I think. But I don't know if we'll be able to do a full-fledged presentation or like a talk. Paige, you've got a question.
Yeah, not sure if it warrants a meeting note, but one, I was curious if this SIG was involved in getting OTel tracing for the system components. That was something I got really excited about and made me want to come kind of contribute. So I was curious if I'm in the right SIG for this, or if that was more on the
David,
API server.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about it. So I'm David. I also actually work in the OpenTelemetry community. And I've been driving work on Kubernetes system component tracing. So right now,
oh my God, thank you, David. Thank you.
happy to have you here and happy to have contributions. Right now, the main efforts are in the kubelet and in the API server. I would expect at least the API server to go beta next release. There isn't a ton to be done there in terms of actual work, but it's always helpful to have someone to try it out and to provide feedback. For kubelet tracing, there's probably quite a bit of instrumentation work to do, and I can point you in the direction. I think there was actually someone who wrote a blog post on kubelet tracing recently, Sasha, I forget their last name, but that person is probably going to write an update to a KEP, which is a Kubernetes enhancement proposal for what they want to do in the kubelet, and that will likely translate.
Was that Sasha Gruner?
Yes, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it.
Okay, yeah, no, I just wanted to check. Sasha is on my old team at Red Hat, and I know Sally, I think, was working on like spearheading the kubelet tracing.
So there's a bunch of people active there, and there's probably going to be a bunch of changes that come with the next release. I'm not sure if it'll move to beta or not, but it very well may. It seems like there are quite a few people.
Oh, so it's an alpha?
It's currently an alpha. And there's the kubelet, it turns out, has a lot of interfaces and plugins and stuff that all need to be instrumented. So there's a wide variety of things to do there.
Perfect. Okay, we're at time and I've got to go, but I will dig into that blog post. I also am a big OTel fan, so lots of good overlap and open source collab happening here. I love it.
Feel free to ping on Slack.
Cool.
Happy to point you to those people. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for attending. We're at time. See you in the new year, if not at our next triage. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.